Ave Amicus. I've seen quite a few videos trying to determine where the protagonist from Fallout 2 is within the world of Fallout New Vegas. The reason we believe the protagonist is in New Vegas is because we can find the player's car from Fallout 2, the Highwayman, crashed just outside of Novac. The most popular theory I have seen is that Noonan is the protagonist. He speaks about rad scorpion stings ruining his brain, while his idle dialogue suggests he is being hunted, or he's at least paranoid that he's being hunted and that people are after him. It could make sense that Noonan is the chosen one, but I have my doubts. For starters, nothing he says is at all unique to the protagonist from Fallout 2. He could very well just be a crazy person. There are other factors that lead me to doubt if Nobark could be the chosen one. Despite the head trauma and the nonsense he says, he displays an unfamiliarity with ghouls as well as miniguns. Two things the chosen one would most definitely know all about and never forget despite head trauma. The things Nobark says about not believing there are ghouls and describing a minigun like it was some new thing he had never seen before lead me to doubt there's any validity to Nobark being the chosen one. There is the possibility that everything he says is total bullshit, but then him just being an old crazy guy is the only evidence people need to conclude he's the chosen one, and I find that to be very weak reasoning, especially when there are other NPCs with closer ties to the chosen one in this very town. For example, the old lady Daisy Whitman is an ex-Enclave vertibird pilot. I love this character. She gives an explanation for the crashed vertibird outside of Klamath. But I have a feeling that if Nobark were the chosen one, who blew up the Enclave and fought the Enclave, he would have either killed her or vice versa. Even if the pair did get along, I think we would hear some dialogue lines referencing one another, but neither have anything to say about the other or ever acknowledge each other's existence. And so, I would put Nobark aside for now, and let's look at some other possible options. My next guess would be Bruce Isaac, the singer in town. Through Bruce's dialogue, it is revealed that he used to sing at the Shark Club in New Reno, the casino owned by the biggest mob in Fallout 2, the Bishops, a place the Chosen One happens to be very familiar with. It is also revealed that Bruce plowed Mr. Bishop's daughter, just like the protagonist in Fallout 2. It sure seems that things are lining up, but then you take into account that this guy is a pretty young singer, and likely too young to be the chosen one. The nail in the coffin is the fact that he is clearly repairing a motorcycle inside his room. If this was the mode of transportation that brought him here, then it would not explain the crashed Highwayman. Alternatively, if he drove the Highwayman here and crashed it, then it could explain why he is now working on a motorcycle. Perhaps after crashing the Highwayman, he traveled to Novac and then to the scrapyard down the road and began assembling a new vehicle to continue fleeing New Reno. Despite that, I would place Bruce in the same group as Nobark, having a possibility of being the chosen one but no explicit clues. I will say that so far Bruce actually has the most in common with the chosen one, though his personality is about the opposite of what I would expect from the protagonist of Fallout 2. So let's keep searching. My next guess was the clerk for the Dino gift shop, Cliff Briscoe. He happens to sell a wide variety of energy weapons and energy weapon ammo. It just so happens that the trunk of the crashed Highwayman was stocked full of energy weapon ammo. Now this is most likely in reference to the fact that you needed to charge the car with microfusion cells as fuel, but there could be a connection here as well. Cliff is an older man, though none of his dialogue gives even the slightest hint that he ever lived outside Novac or did anything interesting whatsoever. Still, it is possible that he is the chosen one, and after crashing his car, he settled in Novac selling dino toys and the remainder of his stockpiled energy weapons from California. He does also sell the unique pistol, That Gun. The name of the gun is a reference to the same 223 pistol model appearing in Fallout 1 and 2, and commonly being referred to as That Gun. So this weapon is named after the pistol used by the Chosen One. That's definitely a connection, but not certain proof. It's very possible that Cliff looted the Highwayman and found the gun and the energy weapon ammo. I will be putting him in the same category as the other two, There are possible connections, but nothing definitive. Let's continue our search. These are the only NPCs in Novak that I could see making a case for being the Chosen One. Novak does seem to be the best chance of finding the Chosen One, having many connections to Fallout 2 in one location aside from the crashed Highwayman. There is nobody else in the Mojave that would have known the Chosen One aside from Marcus. But, listening to his backstory, he parted ways with the Chosen One a while back, and then formed Jacobstown. The clue of the Highwayman is just too good to pass up as the indicator for where the Chosen One would be, so I think we should look at other possibilities in close proximity. My next option was to look at the Highwayman's direction. If we are to assume that it crashed in the direction it was heading and ignore the roadways, then we have another possible answer. I would say we shouldn't expect the Highwayman to travel the roads, and shouldn't expect that it did. In Fallout 2, you can drive the Highwayman across the open desert, and I would assume that would carry over into its appearance in New Vegas. Keeping that in mind, if we face the last direction the Highwayman was driving in, it points us to two possible locations. First is Brock's Cave. In this cave, we find lots of rats. With the Wild Wasteland perk, this is a reference to the Princess Bride, with rodents of unusual size. This cave is used for a caravan quest later on, where we find some dead caravan members holed up in the irradiated cave. In the back of the cave, there is something very interesting. We can find an entire laboratory here. There is a fortified wall that has been breached by the rats, beside monitors, computers, and vats. We also find the unique 5.56 sniper with a night vision scope named Rat Slayer. This entire setup was clearly crafted by someone with a high level of mechanical and scientific knowledge. There is no evidence or reason to suspect that this lab, with one bed, was used or constructed by the caravans. Rather, it seems to be a hideout used by one person until the rats broke in. Also, the inclusion of a rare sniper means that this person was dangerous and trained as well as being educated. I think Brock Cave has a very good chance of being the secondary location of the Chosen One after he left his crashed Highwayman. If we are to assume that he continued in the direction of the crashed vehicle, then Brock Cave has quite a few characteristics that line up. Brock Cave has a fairly good chance of being connected, but let's look at that other location before we come to any conclusions. The other location in the direction the Highwayman was heading is Snider Prospector Camp. This location has very little chance of being used by the Chosen One, in my opinion. There is a bed beside some Sunset Sarsaparilla cans. The cans are the only connection between it and the Highwayman, and there is no indication of anything having to do with the Chosen One. So, I am going to comfortably write this location off as not relevant. Finally, let's take a look at where the Highwayman landed in the first place. If we assume that he was in fact driving on the roads and not in the straight direction of the crashed vehicle, then where was he going? Well, using my knowledge of momentum, it seems that if the Highwayman was driving on the highway beside it, then it would have gone off-road and crashed. The direction it's facing would indicate that it crashed while driving north-northwest on I-95, the road that leads directly into New Vegas. It's very possible that with the Bighorners walking around this exact area and the Cazadors on the right side of the road before the crash, the Chosen One was taking this sharp left turn and was driven off the road. Therefore, I propose that the Chosen One was driving his vehicle to New Vegas when it crashed, and landed in a puddle beside Novak. There is no way of knowing whether the Chosen One made it there, but I think it's safe to presume that he was heading north rather than to either of the southern locations, despite their interesting clues, especially in Brock's Cave. And so I pose that the Chosen One either crashed and stayed in Novak. With the crash and the injuries, I could believe Nobark, though Bruce has much closer ties to things and places where the Chosen One actually was. While Cliff sells the Chosen One's gun, I believe that he could have pillaged it from the car's loot along with the energy weapons, if he didn't take it from Bruce or Nobark. I don't see a very good reason for the Chosen One to set up shop as a dino salesman, but it's always possible. Otherwise, my two best ideas are that he settled in Brock Cave and continued traveling south towards whatever his goal was, or he continued up north and made it to the Strip. If we know anything about the Chosen One, meaning ourselves, then we know there is nothing in the Mojave that could have stopped him from getting to New Vegas if that's where he was heading. And so, the Chosen One is probably one of the quiet gamblers we see minding their own business, more than content to lie low and spend some caps and drink away the terrors of the Enclave with the amount of cancers and wounds and permanent debilitating things he would have going on from all that we did in California. And with that, Ave Amicus.